Well, everyone, it's been like several months since the iPhone 11 has actually came out, and we're going to do another, I guess, an updated comparison review between both of them. A lot of things have changed, and actually a really cool thing has changed, which I'll talk about in a second, but for some reason I wasn't able to get it working on my iPhone 11, but I was able to get it working on my iPhone 10R, but I guess it's whatever, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Now, the iPhone 11, as you guys know, has been out since about September, so it's almost 6 months old. It's going to be 6 months, I think, next month. And this thing, we've actually seen not that much depreciation with it, which, if I'm being honest, it's kind of sad. When it first came out, it was very cool. Everybody was hyped about it. And a lot of people probably didn't even think it was that big of a difference from a 10R to the 11. And I think those people are correct. I really don't think it was like a worthwhile, crazy change, but it definitely was a noticeable one, I think. The iPhone 11, as you guys know, is selling for about $700 for that base model. On Amazon, they're still selling for about like $700. On eBay, they're selling for a little bit cheaper. They were selling for about like $600-ish. I'm sure you can check on other websites and see the prices too. So there's just a little slight difference between the prices from when they first got released to now. And that's a pretty big deal. Probably by September, we'll see some pretty massive depreciation because we're going to be seeing a bunch of new iPhones coming out. Another thing though, once that new iPhone 9 comes out, the iPhone SE2, we'll probably see some big depreciation in the prices too at that point. So that's a pretty big one. Prices haven't really changed too much like crazy, but a little bit have changed. But on the other side with the iPhone 10R, which is right here, we have seen some crazy depreciation from its first time it got released. As you guys know, when it first got released, it was the $749. Then Apple actually decreased the price of the iPhone 11. And then I even said at that point, I'm like, the iPhone 10R is going to see some massive depreciation because not only is the iPhone 11 prices cheaper, but they also decreased the iPhone 10R prices to $599, which is more depreciation than what they usually do. So right now on Amazon, you can actually pick up an iPhone 10R for about $440, dude, which is a very good price for a phone like this. This phone is so capable. You're getting so much in a package like this. And in my opinion, if I'm being honest, I think the iPhone 10R is a better value per dollar than the iPhone 11. You're saving about like almost $300 brand new, including taxes and everything, on an iPhone 10R than on an iPhone 11. But it is what it is. If you want to pick up either of these phones for the prices that I just said, first link's down in the description. They'll take you to Amazon. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But looking on the body, you guys already know they're almost exactly the same build. They both have 6.1-inch panels on the front. Liquid Retina IPS panels, everything's pretty much the same type of True Tone technology, which is really nice. And if I go ahead and zoom in, a lot of people actually said there was a difference between screen technologies and the brightness and everything, and it's going to be super hard to demonstrate this over the screen, I just realized. But in my opinion, and as you guys might be able to see, the panels and they look almost identical. There's very little difference. The True Tone actually helps out a lot, and as you can see from all viewing angles, it's still a very decent display. And that's one thing that I've actually been shocked at looking at all these other phones. Like when I took a look at the iPhone 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max and all those ones, I was actually surprised to see that the panels are almost identical. They look so similar. And of course the OLED panels and everything look much nicer, but these ones look pretty good too. And both of them have held up very well. One doesn't necessarily blow the other one out of the water, but both are very good still. They like Force Touch, both of them, which is kind of sad. And that was the biggest thing about the 10R at the time, but most people don't even remember at this point. I will say one thing though, and again, this is going to be another thing that's going to be hard to demonstrate, but for some reason, I don't know what's going on with my 11. The iPhone 11's panel has scratched much more than my iPhone 10R's panel, which is very weird and something I was not expecting. It's going to be kind of hard to show you guys again, but with my iPhone 10R panel, I thought they were exactly the same, and they still might be. But I've had this one for like a year and a half now, and this one I've only had for 6 months, and this one has scratched so easily, and I'm not really too sure why that panel does that. I was not expecting for that to happen. Now it's randomly getting bright. All of a sudden I have to change the ISO. But that is something that I was not expecting. The panel on the iPhone 11 so far has scratched up noticeably more than my iPhone 10R. So that's one thing, you just kind of have to keep that in mind. But it is what it is. I'm not freaking out about it too much. The backs are almost identical still, as you can see. They're both very good backs, and overall the phones are, feel exactly the same and everything, and nothing has changed in terms of design since they've both been announced. Now that pretty much covers it up in the body. Like I said, nothing has changed. Hating on the software though, obviously, like I said in the previous video, the iPhone 11 might outlast the iPhone 10R, but I truly do feel like the iPhone 10R could possibly get an extra version of software. I know I said the same thing about the iPhone 10, but at this point I really don't know. It's like 50-50. It's too early to say, at this point. However, one of the biggest differences that we've seen recently between both these phones is that new uncovered jailbreak. So what this new jailbreak allows you to do is it allows you to jailbreak any A12 or A13 devices on iOS 13 to 13.3. Now for some reason on my iPhone 10R I was able to get it up and running. Let's see if I'm still jailbroken. And yeah, I'm still jailbroken on my iPhone 10R. On my iPhone 11 though, I don't know why I was not able to get Cydia up and running. Let me go ahead and see if it crashes. Yeah, it just keeps crashing on me, and I've done it like a billion times. For some reason, it just does this. I'm not going to jailbreak now, but both phones are able to be jailbroken. Hopefully, it's fixed on the iPhone 11 by watching this video if you try it. I've already dropped a tutorial on how to do it as well, and this is one of the coolest things so far, and that's one of the biggest changes that have happened. A lot of people might not even hit on this because they probably don't even know, but since I follow iOS so much, I know about the jailbreaking scene, and that's honestly one of the biggest changes so far. I love jailbreaks. I love those tweaks. I've been looking at jailbreak tweaks on older iPhones as well and making updated reviews on those. And I can't wait for the day where these phones are like the older phones of the day. But so far, these two have a jailbreak, which was a little different at that time because the iPhone XR did have a jailbreak. The iPhone 11 did not. And this is the first jailbreak, I think, on the iPhone 11. So hopefully a checkra1n jailbreak comes out for these phones. That would be super, super sick. But so far, both phones are able to be jailbroken. And that's one of the biggest changes that we've seen since the beginning of at least when the iPhone 11 was released. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now let's go and hit on the performance. Now nothing has really changed between the performance either. They're both pretty much very good performing phones still. One doesn't really go crazy against the other one. The iPhone XR has the Apple A12 Bionic chip, a hexa-core CPU, and there's 3 different models, 64, 128, and 256 gig models. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip, hexa-core CPU, and 3 different models as well. The 64, 128, and 256 gig models. All these have 4 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone XR has 3 gigabytes of RAM. So I guess I'll do a little bit of a speed opening comparison, but like I said, nothing has really changed in the performance side. We've gotten so many versions of iOS. iOS 13 has came out we're towards the end of iOS 13 at this point, and we haven't really seen too many updates recently. If you remember my early on comparisons, I was like, Apple is probably going to push a lot of updates, and they were for a while, but then they actually stopped, so I don't know what they're doing. So I went ahead and zoomed in. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a speed comparison, and all the apps are closed out in the background. I'm going to do basic ones. The App Store. This one does have dark mode on. Maybe I'll go ahead and put dark mode on both. That one took forever to load. I'm surprised about that. Some people have said before that dark mode actually impacts it, but that is completely 100% not the case. That has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but to make you guys feel better. Okay, there we go. These apps I've already done. Let's go and load up these ones. You guys want to see these ones more. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. This isn't going to be an end-all be-all either. I'm just going to do quick ones. Facebook, that was actually quicker on the iPhone 11. 3, 2, 1. And yeah, iPhone 11 was probably right there. There wasn't that big of a difference. Dropbox, 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to kind of go all over the place. As you guys saw, iPhone 11 just like a split second faster. Not like crazy though. It's not worth updating in my opinion. Like if you already have it, there's no point in actually like going from a XR to an iPhone 11. Even at this point, like I still think the XR is very good. Even though the 11 is pretty much, beating the iPhone XR every single which way. We can do BOFA. This is an app, banking app. I think most of you guys probably have a banking app on your phone. So you can see like every single day if you're using these apps over and over again, like maybe you'll save a little bit of time, but it's not going to be anything worthwhile. Go and do Temple Run, like these are just basic ones at the end of the day. And these are 2 different Temple Runs, so I don't even know why I did that one. So I'll go ahead and hop out of those. We can just end it off with like Real Racing 3 or something, 3, 2, 1. Now this is an app that's pretty intensive, so I'm sure we'll see a pretty big change. Maybe the iPhone 11 will beat it by a landslide, who knows. And they both kind of loaded into the same time, so I don't know. Also, all these apps have updated too, so there's been a little bit changes here and there. And dude, I don't know, I think the iPhone XR was actually a little bit faster there. I was pretty surprised about that. And it's things like that, you just never really know, you know what I mean? Like one phone could be faster one year, and the other one could be faster here and there. So I think the consistent winner is the iPhone 11, but it was honestly very, very close between the two. So that pretty much covers it up that. Let's go ahead on the cameras. And like I've said before, both have very good camera sensors. And since my original comparison, I've actually done a camera comparison between them. And again, like I saw, the iPhone 11, I think not only has the better camera sensors, it also has additional camera sensors. We have a single 12 megapixel camera here and a dual camera setup here, 2 12 megapixel sensors, a wide angle lens, and an ultra wide sensor. And like I've stated at that point, dude, you're able to do much more on these cameras on the iPhone 11 than you are on the iPhone XR. And I don't know how I feel about a single camera setup on a phone anymore. I've always liked dual camera setups, and you can see from the comparison hopefully that I'm showing here, I do like the iPhone 11's camera setup more than I like the iPhone XR's. And it's more than just a camera quality thing, it's definitely more of actually like this hardware itself. Like you can't get an ultra wide sensor on the iPhone XR. You can't do it from a software update or anything. You have to actually have that physical sensor. So it is what it is. I do like that. One of the coolest things though that not a lot of people talk about is with the front camera on the iPhone 11, you have the ability to shoot 4K at 60 frames. Where on the iPhone XR you can only do 1080p at 60, which is still good enough for a lot of people, but you do have that capability on the iPhone 11, which is really cool and actually really funny. Like I said, nobody really talks about it anymore, but I find it to be really, really cool. Now that kind of covers it up in the camera department too. Let me go ahead and end off the battery life. So one thing that I'll go ahead and show you, and my iPhone XR is on the left, my iPhone 11 is on the right. Let me go ahead and show you the battery health between both phones. So obviously the battery life on the iPhone 11 is going to be 100%, but more importantly, let me show you the iPhone XR. And this is kind of what I see everybody's battery health to be, because I use this phone all the time, but I feel like everybody's battery health is going to be better than mine, because as you can see, I let my phone die all the time. My phones die like from 100% to 0% constantly, and you're not supposed to do that if you want to prolong the health of your phone. And as you can see, my iPhone XR is still at 100%, which is very, very awesome. And my iPhone 11, it better be on 100%. As you can see, my iPhone 11's battery health is still at 100%. Now, to give you some contrast, my Galaxy S10 that I bought last year, even that phone's even newer than the iPhone XR, and I do the same thing, die all the time, use it sometimes. That phone's battery health is like a 95%. So both these phones have a really good battery life. Maybe the iPhone 11 has just a little bit better, but it's not like crazy. It's not like worth jumping from a XR to the iPhone 11. I feel like both of these are still very, very good. And if you have a XR, the battery health is still very good. It's still really nice. But since my first comparison, as you know, I've done so many videos on my iPhone 11, and this one has done very well as well. So to kind of sum up the video and to answer the question, which one should you buy in 2020, I'll go ahead and tell you, like, if you have a XR, still keep it. Like, there's some reasons to go pick up an iPhone 11, but this phone is still so killer and has so much going for it that they're really, like, if the iPhone 11 was a 10 out of 10, the iPhone XR is like a 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that's missing, in my opinion, is maybe the camera, a little bit of performance, and maybe the software longevity, but that's still too early to tell which one's going to last, the longest. Maybe the 11 will, but it's still super early. I think the better value per dollar, like I stated before, is the iPhone XR. You have that jailbreak access and all those things with a cheaper price tag, but for longevity, the iPhone 11 might be the better way to go. So that's pretty much it. Just a quick little update between both these phones. If you have any questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Like I said, if you want to purchase either of these phones, links are down in the description. Check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys to check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.